Hi, are you ready to be inspired? My name is Tom Metzger, and I sat down recently with Deke Sharon here in Vancouver. He's known as the father of modern a cappella, and we had a great conversation, which we're going to post here to YouTube in 4 segments. If you want to be notified when each segment drops, naturally what you do is you subscribe to the channel and then click on the bell icon, and YouTube will let you know. So this first episode is called Harmony Through Harmony, and I think we can all agree the world could use more of that. So enjoy the conversation. Let's jump in. I remember recently you were up here and you were the MC and the clinician for the large and amazing Lionsgate Chorus show up here. We all got together. Speaking of community, we all got together and sang like the Bella's final thing, which was super fun. And I was sitting just very close to the MC spot, and I was listening to you talk about harmony through harmony, right? And I think we can all probably agree that even more so now than ever, maybe, unless you're old enough to have seen the Civil War, that we could use a little more of that connection. And I think I would love to understand how you see that. You know, at an abstract level, I think I absolutely agree that people singing together they're going to relate to each other better and all that. But how could we use this concept of harmony through harmony to make a real difference in our region, in our society, to bring people together a little better than we have been?
Sure. Well, let's go back in history a little bit, okay? Let's go back to when I was a little kid. In the 1970s, when people watched the news in America, and I'm certain it was the same case in Canada, people knew that the information they were getting was without bias, to the best of the newsroom's ability. And in fact, ABC, CBS, and NBC, the 3 major networks in America, all ran their newsrooms at a loss, because they knew they had a responsibility to the American public to share information without bias. Plus, there were strict laws. You couldn't present one viewpoint without presenting a counter viewpoint. That was fundamental. But in the 1980s, this was all deregulated, and you started popping up and having Rush Limbaugh on the radio, and you started having a lot more kind of opinions starting in the news, and it took a little while to really gather steam. But then what happened is these newsrooms started saying, like, okay, well, we need to catch up with these for-profit news sources that were really more punditry and more opinion, and they're making money, so we need to start making money. And then everybody started chasing money. And what happens there is you end up starting to need to engage people for your advertising. You need to like grab people's attention. And you know, most news actually isn't fundamentally interesting, but shock value is.
Yeah.
And in fact, the little, amygdala in our brain, that little animal fight or flight thing, it's fear and anger. Fear and anger motivate, fear and anger turn into, click, this matters, I like this, whatever, I'm interested in this. And we started with that, and then the increasing polarization of not just the US, but countries all the way around the world. You started to see the right and left pull further afield, and it became easier and easier for politicians to point the finger and say they're the problem. This is fundamentally destructive to any democracy, because the biggest problem is not somebody who has a different opinion from you. The biggest problem is thinking that you're not able to solve issues in society with them. As soon as you vilify anyone with a different opinion from you, then you put yourself into a position where you're in constant opposition. And now American politicians, the concept of compromise for them is disgusting. It's not like why would we ever want to do that? And right now we're sitting in the middle of this shutdown where people aren't able to get food stamps, and all these government workers aren't getting paid, and now planes are getting canceled. I mean, it's just absolutely moronic. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, this doesn't work. It's a lose-lose situation. There's a reason I'm saying all this. There's no better way to teach people the fundamental value of working together than vocal harmony. Now you may say, well, team sports are great. You work together with your team. Yes, but sports are a zero-sum game. One team's going to win, one team's going to lose. And we need to get away from this idea of somebody wins and somebody loses. When you sing together, everyone wins. When you bring together diverse voices, you end up having a better group. You want people with high voices, low voices, raspy voices, clear voices, so you can sing different styles of music, so you have different soloists who can step forward. And as my English teachers in elementary school always told me, show, don't tell, right? So you can tell people all the time, diversity is really valuable, but what's much more powerful is to take a bunch of people together and put them on stage and make something wonderful. I helped an organization, a group called Delta Capella in Memphis, Tennessee, get started over a decade ago. And Memphis, Tennessee is a very segregated city still. It's in the American South. And honestly, the black neighborhood and the white neighborhood, they're very separate. And this was an ensemble that was half black, half white, all male, but it went from people who were right out of college, people who were 20, 21 years old, all the way up to 75, 80 years old. And you had the richest people in the society, and you had people who were sometimes homeless on stage, standing next to each other, singing a duet. And they performed all around Memphis, and it was transformational, because you can say, we all need to work together. But when you see people actually doing it and singing songs that bring a tear to your eye and fill your heart with joy and pride and excitement, it is so much more powerful. So I truly believe that vocal harmony is the way in which we're able to knit back together the fabric of society, bring people together and make them realize we need each other, and what we can do together is so much stronger than what we can do when we're alone. And people think that they're tone deaf and they can't sing anymore. This is a fundamental flaw. There are very, very few people on planet Earth who are tone deaf because they can't hear tone and they speak at one monotone pitch like this.
I'm tone deaf.
Right. So yeah, totally. Anybody who says that to you, just say, if they say, I'm tone deaf, just say, no, you're not, because they can hear the rise and the fall in your voice. And the analogy I like to use is, if you rarely, if ever, picked up a basketball and shot free throws, how many would you make? How good would you be? Your vocal cords are just muscles. And it used to be in culture before recorded music, everybody sang, and we've gotten away from that.
Right.
And people love singing, and that's why shows like American Idol and The Voice, like, and all of these different French people, like, oh, they're like longing for the sound of voices. And then during the holidays, everybody wants vocal harmony. And the reason Pitch Perfect was so big is in a time of disconnection and everything being so computerized and robotic on the radio, you hear these people get together and sing together, and it just taps something deep inside of us. So there are still cultures around the world. I was just earlier this year back in Estonia, and they have something called the Song Celebration.
Right, yes.
And in Estonia, they would have a performance. It's like they had a band shell built, and once a year people would all gather there. And there were 21,000 people singing harmony on stage together, and an audience of 85,000 people all the way up, like in the audience.
My parents went to that one year.
Did they?
They did.
It's stunning. And there's this incredible sense of joy and community. I mean, you think about Coachella and these big like rock concerts that ended up happening. It was the same thing, but it was people singing. And you had kids, and you had all different styles of choruses or whatever. And then they sang together, and you felt this. And we need to start getting back to this again.
And so the question to me then, I absolutely buy that. I think that makes sense. It actually resonates with my time as a young man singing in a barbershop chorus.
Sure.
And yes, it was all men, but it was very diverse as well, especially intergenerational. There were,
of course.
lots of old guys that I remember. Now I'm one of the old guys, I guess. But I think I just benefited from that so much. And I can absolutely imagine that part of bringing society together is the same problem we've been trying to solve for a long time, which is how do we get more people singing in these groups? And I know that one of the things we critically need is leadership.
Yes.
And I think you're helping to provide that leadership. And when I heard you talk about it on that Lionsgate show, and I was thinking, that's exactly what I'm trying to do too. Like for 16 years now, I've been trying to build these systems, a completely different angle, but
sure.
To make it easier to make a group, right? To bring all these people together with less effort, which is called Choir Genius, by the way. But a little commercial available on Amazon now, as I keep saying. But who else is there, right? What other leadership can we count on to bring all of this? What do we have to do to make it clear to people that this is a path to making society better?
So back in the 90s, I really wanted to spread a cappella, and I wanted to get people to know about it and love it. So I went to the American Choral Directors Association. I said, like, you need to add a contemporary a cappella category. And they were like, no.
No, we don't.
And then I went to the Grammys and I was like, you need to have an a cappella, category for the Grammys. Like a cappella is great. And they're like, no. So I realized I can't do it through the structure. I need to go and change society. I need to change culture. I need to build desire for this. Grassroots. And then things change. And now there is a contemporary a cappella category in the American Choral Directors Association, and there is an a cappella arranging Grammy. So these things did change, even when people laughed at me and said it'll never happen ever during anyone's lifetime. So I think the first thing that we need to do to change society is to get great music out there, so that people are singing at high quality, and not just being technically great, but actually singing in a way that connects with the audience. Mm-hmm. And this is why so much of what I teach and do is about building that bridge, building that connection. And in fact, the book that I wrote, The Heart of Vocal Harmony, is all about singing with consistent, unified emotion, a concept that I don't think has ever really been covered in any kind of a book, and certainly nothing that was ever taught anytime I was.
I will say that high-level barbershop people do that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad they do. And yet much more of that's needed out there. And it's not like nobody sings with emotion. I mean, you see a gospel group and your heart is full, and you hear a children's chorus and you get a tear in your eye. So when it's done really well, it's already happening out there. But I want to help everyone do that better. And then it's the show don't tell thing again. When people love and they hear this chorus and they're just like, oh, my heart is full, I'm feeling joy, that's so fun, that's awesome. Maybe I could do that. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should join that. Because everyone used to sing, and before people spoke in prehistoric times, I mean, you look at the animal kingdom, birds and crickets and whales and dogs, and so many creatures use their voices and tone to connect and communicate without any kind of language, let alone written language. So we're all doing it. That's what we have hardwired inside of ourselves.
Right in the DNA.
It's in the DNA.
Yeah.
And at the end of the harvest, at the end of the hunt, gathering around the fire, and singing together is just so very human. So people want to do it, but we have to remind them of that. And so that's where a lot of my work is, to just travel around North America, travel around the world, and make groups better, hopefully, and get them, plant these seeds and get them excited about performing more and connecting more with people, and help them build that infrastructure so that their organization is healthy, but so there are more opportunities for them.